So it's day 2 for me on this project at Arundells, and I'm here to have a proper look around. There's some nice oh, I'll give you the name in a minute. Ivy leaf toad flax, that's the one. It's beautiful, so we'll leave that. So I'm here really today to meet Ivan, Emma and Chris the gardener. Chris and I have talked about what plants he wants to keep and save for the main space. Ivan, Emma and I will chat about various things in a bit, hopefully over a cup of tea and a slice of cake. And I'm, in the meantime, in that gap between meetings, I'm making an inventory of the garden, so I'm logging what's here, basically. What's to be kept, what's to be not touched, i.e. walls and things that are under this conservation umbrella, along with some trees that won't be touched, along with some other things that won't be touched. Then I'm mapping things like things we can use, like the shed, the spare piles of paving stones. I know there's a pile of those right at the end. I'll walk through things that we can leave, like this great big acanthus, things that need to be pruned back. Just really, this is the observational part of the project. This is where you make it very, very clear so everyone's understanding what the yeses and nos are, and that's just essentially, it's an observational and note-taking task I would do in any space at the beginning of a project. So this is a good shed we can use, needs a little bit of tender loving care on the roof and so on, but absolutely fine. This dead tree will be coming down. We may or may not use the wood, but I know there's plenty of wood in the main garden we've been offered as well for habitat purposes, so that's fine. This great big holly will stay. It's a beauty, and I think it kind of mirrors the spire over there. I don't know if I've got that in, but it's a really lovely tall pointy holly, just like the spire of the cathedral. The walls I think are absolutely beautiful, and there will be all sorts of beasts and bugs nestling in the crevices of those, so that in itself is going to be an activity for schools that's here ready made for us. The self-seeded yew here, it's very small, and self-seeded, is that holly? Yes, I think that's holly. Those will come down. There's no TPOs on those, so that's great. There's some stumps that are going to come down as well, just go down to ground level so that flooring can be easily done. And then moving along into the garden, we've had a conversation this morning about because of trying to create a slight noise and visual barrier between the two gardens, because they will sometimes overlap and clash with purposes, that we'll keep the shrub height on the other side of this wall. You can just about see those there. And I've suggested, why don't we, instead of taking all these shrubs out on our side as well, why don't we build them up, put some native hedging plants in, and perhaps create a native hedge along here, which will be another really good opportunity to talk about wildlife and the things that wildlife needs. It also helps us to protect this wall as well and not undermine it in any way or make it topple, so that works. And it means I've got sort of 7/8 of the width of the garden to play with the design, and including the sunnier side over there. So I've been doing things, even small things get written onto my list, like this Alchemilla mollis. Chris, the head gardener, said he doesn't want it. He's got plenty, and so what I'll do is have the boots on the ground team dig it up and pot it up, and then we can perhaps either sell it in our first plant sale later down the line, or we can incorporate it into the garden. What it does do is creates good shade underneath so that things like toads and frogs and insects can move around. They do like some ground cover, so that could be incorporated into the garden. And that will be one of the things I do try and do, is use what's here to our advantage. Most of that's going to come out. That looks like, oh, that's another acanthus back there. Is that a globe thistle there? I don't know. Anyway, so moving up the garden a little bit. Fairly sure there's some fledgling birds in here as well, which we'll be taking great care not to hurt when the clearing bit starts. Very possibly hiding in the brambles there. So clearing and potting up and taking plants out is the first actual physical task we'll do once we've got all of our boxes ticked around health and safety and so on. There's a nice fig there. That's definitely can stay. Get trained a bit against the wall, as it has already been previously done. Do the same with that grapevine down there. Chris is going to rescue the rose for his side of the garden. And everything else I think is going, unless Chris is taking some of those bits down there as well, which I think he probably is. We've got ground cover there. We've got a bay, a great big bay there. But there's no problem. We can just, like I said, we can create a nice hedge. The electrics, I'm told today in part of my questions, is runs along the wall, so I don't have to worry about those being under the ground. There is water pipe under the ground, but that's all switched off and sort of redundant. I don't think we have to worry about TPOs or anything like that. There's a lovely Clematis montana which will stay. There are the stems down there, the big woody stems, and it will be a big mass tangle over the other side of the wall, no doubt, where birds love to nest. The yew trees there, they will be taken down in height and shaped up, so we've got a nice thick hedge again and some room. I think Chris said he'll tackle that. Excuse me. These are old light boxes, they're to stay.